I've been visited here by Minesto's CEO, Martin Edlund, who just got off the plane from the Faroe Islands, bearing good news. The floor is yours, Martin.
Yes. Thank you very much. It's good to be here in Malmö. And we're going to do this in English. We've now a significant amount of shareholders outside of Sweden, which makes it a little bit more fair, I think, to comment on Minesto's situation in English. So I'm just back, landed from the Faroe Islands an hour ago, and we've had significant progress with Minesto. It's probably the largest and most valuable milestone for us ever that we reached with stable and high performance electricity production to the grid in the Faroe Islands. It's for us an achievement that has significant impact both on the technology agenda going forward and not the least the commercial agenda, which also reflects on the quotes from our customer in the Faroe Islands in the press release that we just released. But this occasion is of course also for people not currently shareholders and in detail in understanding of Minesto. So I'll give you a few words on the technology and the company as such as well, while keep commenting on what we're doing in the Faroes. So we've had quite a journey with investments in this principle to convert kinetic energy in the oceans into electricity, from the spin-out days from Saab in Linköping, all the way to the current successful installation and commissioning in the Faroe Islands. It's been a journey from model scale, proof of concept, to today a fully functional power plant of 100 kilowatts with the highest performance in the world compared to all other marine energy technologies. And I think that's the first time we can state that, not just sort of has it as an hypothesis, given the way it's been flying over there. The principle we use is kite flying, you may say. So the system is tethered to the seabed, and there is a turbine and a nacelle that collects the energy in a conventional sort of turbine-like fashion. The good thing here is that we sweep a large area. We use water with high density, and that gives us a technology with extremely lightweight and a really, really good output in the energy conversion. So the system that did the job here earlier this week on Monday is seen here schematically. And piece by piece, step by step in this, we now have verified every component and subsystem in this when it comes to starting the system, to turning the system in the tides. It's not something that you sort of brag about in this. I mean, we fly extremely well, but the turns are important. The tide turns 1,000 times every year, so you need to be extremely stable and do that efficiently, which we're doing now in the way we work. What's good is also that this product as such, that the commercial scale we have now is ready for rollout in all microgrid contexts that you can imagine. That is not the larger arrays at this 100 kilowatt level. And it's not just about the performance as such in flying and converting energy. It's all the other aspects, and I will actually take some time before we're done here to illustrate a little bit on the launch and recovery, the service aspects of it, which is of course even more important when you go for microgrid and small scale installations, because then you need cost-effective ways of locally dealing with the system, which is then the right-hand side column here on microgrids. What's good is that we also know now that we are well within the projection of the levelized cost of energy projections. We enter the curve here in a very favorable position compared to what we've simulated and estimated previously. So this will be a really smooth and nice journey for us to catch up with the more mature renewable energy sources. It also means that we have verified the large market that we're facing. We are challenging the technology by claiming low flow currents, which is the abundant resource globally. And we know now by the flight performance at commercial scale that that is well within reach for us. Of course, now this means momentum for the commercial rollout, and not the least the middle part here in our business model. The aspects of moving into new sites, joining forces with complementary technology-based companies on electric infrastructure and the utility side. This is really, really important, and we are now working on expanding the pipeline on projects, and we are already in the planning of next phase in the Faroes, of course in parallel with keeping delivering and working in Vestmanna. The agenda and rationale for the Faroe Islands, they had yesterday in the TV news there, they had a 10-minute exclusive just on Minesto and the future of their energy system, actually pointing at those dimensions that we have here. It's a little messy and too detailed for this forum now, but the conclusions here is really that yes, we're gonna need and we're gonna have a lot of use globally for when it comes to energy storage. But if we can balance the grid mix towards 100% renewables, that's going to be even more cost effective and make it affordable to turn this planet into complete sustainability. This is another backup slide on that matter, where the difference in storage capacity need for the Faroe Islands is dramatically lowered by introducing the deep green technology into that context. Service maintenance. We are the most cost-effective marine energy technology by far when it comes to service and maintenance. You can see a comparison here. We're using the small vessel that is towing the system. If you have heavier systems on the seabed, steel structures, hundreds of tons, you'll have to make do with the red one. And you can imagine the differences in availability and cost levels for doing this. This also enhanced the business model in the early phases significantly because we need to promise with production warranties and production yields in what we do. We can get really good service contracts early on, but in order to enter into such business engagements, you need to have a very robust cost structure of your service, because we know that there is always a risk with immature technologies that they will need more caretaking than at later stages. And this is extremely cost effective by towing it in and out. So I'd say that this is, from our internal perspective, actually the most valuable aspect, the one thing that we didn't firmly were sort of convinced of, that we could manage this process in this really nice way. So what we're doing, apart from the 100 kilowatt unit and that work, is also now to investigate and measure and secure the next step in the Faroe Islands. We are right now freezing designs and moving towards a 1 megawatt plus unit that will constitute the backbone of the utility rollout. The conceptual solutions are now already verified and secured with the success this week. So we can migrate all those solutions. They scale really well to reach the size of units that are appropriate for utility scale rollout of the deep green technology. This is an example from Hestfjord. Detailed measurements have been done. We've previously confirmed that this is probably the best tidal site for our technology that we know of today globally. Which is also really valuable because that means that the need for potential subsidies and above market price levels for electricity are really limited, those needs. What you see here is measurements on tidal flows, peak flows, average flows, some indications of water depths, and the way we are planning to build it in different phases. We've had congratulations from our partners in the other site development areas that we are in the world, from Lake Worth to France to Taiwan. We'll say that this is our starting point, both tidal and ocean currents. But we will work now for the year ahead to expand this and identify more opportunities to match it with the right partners and often also local project funding that goes into the projects. So it's fair. It's really fair, more fair than ever, I'd say, to conclude Minesto as a company with this little slide here that some of you have seen before. This is a truly game-changing renewable energy technology. And if you look at the marine energy with tens of gigawatts planned and committed by the EU policy-wise, we are the #1 in line for claiming that market. It's unique. The position is globally the strongest because of our low flow capability. The commercial offer with the high performance of energy conversion is highly attractive. And as you can see, the project pipeline can be significantly expanded from where we are now. Of course, it's not sort of a weakening of the case, the fact that the technology is heavily protected patent-wise, and that we are unique doing this in the marine environment, using this principle. And with that, I think I would welcome some questions, perhaps.
Well, thanks very much, Martin, and a very, very big congratulations to your success in the Faroe Islands.
Thank you.
I asked you just before we stepped up, is this the biggest milestone or the biggest news in your company history? And I think you agreed to that.
Yes, it is. Definitely.
And yeah, it's fantastic. And the market, not least, has been waiting for this, to hear that now you are on stream, you're producing electricity. There's one thing remaining, though, in the eyes on the market, and that is to learn about the performance data. Are you going to collect and later on publish performance data from this first power unit?
We're considering it. We're sharing it with the commercial partners that we're working with the EDF, with SEV, and with others that I can't mention. And that's the main purpose of it, using it to build business relationships. There are aspects to it, how the kite behaves and how those curves look like, that we should be a little bit careful with sharing, because there are some really nice insights into that is not for everyone to see.
Okay.
But of course we will be able to use this now to enhance our projections for the cost of energy as well. So there will be data, not immediately, but we will. So the answer is yes.
Okay, yeah. Thanks. And the way forward in the Faroe Islands now, you have a first installation. You said before, and it was also in your pictures, that you're going to have another 100 kilowatt installation. Yes. Before you go to utility scale. Is that still a plan?
Well, not before, because we're already, yes, as a hardware installation, yes, that's a sequence. But it's important that we already now have started the site development for the larger, which is then towards the first 10 megawatt phase in the location that I showed you on the slide earlier. And that work needs to be started. It's actually so that what we're doing now is necessary for the next phase, for the environmental permits and showing locally that the technology is secure given the flora and fauna in the Faroes. So it's a natural next step.
Okay. And have you any timeline in mind? I mean, coming to, let's say you mentioned the first 10 megawatts. When do you think you're going to be there?
I mean, it's a question that we get often, but I'd say within a few years.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
It's rather 2 years than 4 years if you sort of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Turning to the UK, you of course have done most of your work previously in the UK and especially in Wales. Yep. Now the UK, the government have been discussing how they are to subsidize marine energy so that it makes sense for you to be there, and they have discussed this cash for difference system. Are they still in discussion about that, or have they reached some sort of conclusion?
Yes, there are meetings on Monday between the Minister of Energy and BASE, as that department is called, on Monday with the Marine Energy Council. And for us, we don't have to stand there alone and fight the UK government. I mean, it's still a strong supply chain in the UK with the by far largest potential for tidal in Europe. And since the other technologies have higher cost levels, they can sort of do the claims on subsidies, and we will benefit from that also with our lower cost alternative.
And I know you've been asked this a lot of times in the last few years, but now we are actually on the threshold to Brexit. So the question again is: does Brexit factor into your investment decisions at all?
No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, if they would come up with something that is far worse than the offers we have from the EU, but then we'll hold back there and focus on the Faroes and France and what we're doing there. But there are no signs that will happen. And I think they would be really stupid if they didn't sort of catch the momentum they have with this industry. They simply need the energy. It's locally produced, it's secure energy from the UK perspective. So we are very confident that they will move forward.
Yeah. You mentioned France. When we met at the same conference last year, you had just released that you are going to start installing a test site in Bretagne.
Yep.
And how is that going? Is it starting now, or
it's completely on track. There's been some COVID hang-ups with the French authorities. You know, local meetings to tell the public that this is happening in Pampol-Briard and those things, but nothing that is slowing us down. So the site infrastructure is being upgraded and adopted to our technology. Measurements on site flows are there, and we're building the first unit is now in design freeze at model scale to verify some of the exciting changes that we are introducing in this project with EDF.
But the unit that you're planning on installing there, is that the same, the DG100s that you have in various pilots?
That's the design, but with some tweaks to it.
Okay. And speaking of tweaks, you mentioned that you're planning to go to a 1 megawatt model. Is that simply a scale-up of the DG100?
Simply, I mean, from an external perspective, yes. It's the technology scales really well, but we can, let's say, learn a few things from what we have now and gain cost reductions just by doing things slightly differently. But we will not mess around with it to compromise any of the let's say the risk reduction we have when it comes to the hydrodynamic properties and controls and how it performs.
But you feel fairly confident that with the know-how that you have from this model, you can easily go to 1 megawatt within the same structure. Yeah,
no doubt.
And that will be your first utility scale version 1, so to speak.
Yeah. And for this site in the Faroes, I think if we compare to how you rate power plants, it's probably going to be around 1.2 megawatts even. So just because the site is so perfect for our technology.
Okay, lovely. Finally, you mentioned COVID. Of course, it's a global pandemic. It's also a global recession, and it puts a lot of strain on public government budgets. Have you seen any signs that this could affect government's willingness to spend on renewable energy in competition with everything else they have to spend on right now?
As you know, our third largest owner is, I mean, that's EU money from Energy. So we sit very close to the discussions in the corridors in Brussels. And I mean, this is a topic, and what we can tell from the information we get out of that, and also from media and the public, is that, on the contrary, the fight against climate change is going to be intensified. We've shown with the way that sort of society has risen to the task of fighting COVID that we can do more also in this area. And I think the stimulation packages for the economy is now targeting areas of growth and that address this huge problem. So I would say, on the contrary, the situation we are in now is, on the macro level, even better than it were a year ago.
Well, that's all the questions we have time for. Thanks very much, Martin, for having for coming here. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good to be here.
And we'll have a short break.